Hello Jeeper, welcome to the show. Now, I get a lot of comments about the appearance of this Jeep, okay, and how it looks authentic. And I've been thinking about that, and I've been trying to think of easy and cheap ways to make your Jeep look more authentic, okay? So what is it that gives it its authentic look? It's not spending a load of money on it, okay? You can do it easy and cheaply, and that's what I've come up with. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is the first thing you should do is get a windshield, and I obviously haven't got one yet. No, I am sorting the windshield out. That's coming in a later video. We're going to go and pick that up and put it on here. That would make your Jeep really authentic straight away, is to actually have a windshield on it, but we're going to sort that out. The first one we're going to say is, before we go into our top five ways to easily and cheaply make your Jeep look more authentic, is I've talked about it a lot, is paint, okay? Paint is really important. This isn't one of our five, but paint is really important. If you're building your Jeep at the moment, have a real long, hard think about how you're going to paint it, because it gives the overall look and feel of your vehicle, okay? And you could paint up a CJ or something like that in the correct looking paint, and 90% of people wouldn't know it was incorrect, just because of the way it looks, and it's that instant feel and impression that people get of the vehicle, okay? So that's just something I just want to put in there for you. It's not easy and it's not cheap, but paint is really important. But let's look at our number one easy and simple thing to do to make your Jeep look more authentic. Okay peeps, number one in my list is the thing I like to call hood lift, okay? It is, what are people expecting to see when you lift the hood? Right, well, what is this? This is a nearly 80-year-old vehicle, so they're not expecting to see modern cables, modern wires, modern electrics, you know, modern hoses and plugs and things like that. Those are all very cheap and easy things to change, which will just take an afternoon to sort out. So let's lift this hood up. Oh, it doesn't get stuck. There we go, okay? So let's have a look in here. It doesn't mean all the details didn't need to be 100% correct. That's absolutely fine. These hoses here, okay, what do people expect to see? Black old rubber looking hoses. That's what they can see. Now underneath those hoses, I've got modern markings. These are modern hoses with modern markings, but they're turned over so you can't see them, okay? So there you go, cheap and easy. If you've got these hoses, just spin them over, undo the clamps, spin them over. Perfect, right? The other thing is, of course, is the clamps as well. Jubilee clips, we call them Jubilee clips in the UK. You know, they don't look great on a Jeep. They work really well. They're better than these ones, but they don't look great. So you can easily swap those over in an afternoon. You get reproduction correct clamps on here. Looks fantastic, okay? Other things as well, cables, ignition wires and things like that. Joe's Motor Pool now make easy, good looking cables to go on here with the correct style connectors. It'll only take an afternoon to sort out, but it'll really change how your Jeep looks. I've got other things in here, like my ignition coil is a 6-volt post-war French ignition coil. It was painted green, but I've sprayed it black and made it look original. So very simple, very small changes really change the overall effect. If you lift that hood up and there's loads of modern looking wires and things like that, don't worry about it. You know, you don't need to rewire your whole Jeep. Just get hold of some of this asphalt, this impregnated asphalt covering. This is what we use on the Jeep in a lot of places to cover the wires up. You know, it doesn't have to be totally accurate to how it was in World War II, but just covering the wires up makes a really big change, a really big difference, and it'll make people, you know, second guess when you pull up the hood on your Jeep whether everything is original or not. They probably won't have the knowledge to know whether everything's original or not, but if it looks original, perfect. You know, I've got things like this air cleaner on here isn't the correct type, or sorry, the correct date for this Jeep. This is an earlier one with a instruction label is pushed onto it rather than pressed into it, so it's a year or two earlier than it should be. But unless you really know the details, you won't know that. The overall impression though is it's painted, it looks correct, and it's in the correct place. So the overall hood impression, the hood lift, is correct, okay? So that's a really cheap and easy thing you can do to improve the overall impression of the Jeep. Just simple details. It doesn't have to be expensive. The simple details make a really big difference. Now, unless you lift the hood on the Jeep, there are two things that people always look at, okay? And the first one of those is gauges, right? Gauge is really important. There's something you look at when you're driving all the time, and there's something people look at when they come to look at your Jeep, okay? And if they're not right, they're the wrong gauges, or they don't match the patina of the Jeep or something like that, then it can really stand out and it can really affect the overall feel and look of the Jeep, okay? Now, I'm not saying here put all original gauges in your Jeep. Some of them are very difficult and expensive to get hold of. Most people don't have a temperature gauge, original temperature gauge fitted, much like my one, because they're really easy to break and, you know, they just don't last. Some of the things like speedos as well, they get worn out over time. They need lubing and what have you. So most people use a reproduction speedometer as well. My one is 5 miles an hour slow above 30 miles an hour. So mine doesn't even read quite correct as well. But I'm going to show you something about that in a minute as well. And just a bit of a PSA coming up in a second. Now, you don't need to put all original gauges in there. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Because they are expensive. But some of them are quite cheap and easy to get hold of. The fuel gauge and the ammeter are both readily available on eBay. They don't really seem to break a huge amount. You know, if you're unlucky if you get one which doesn't work, but they're very cheap and they're straightforward and they make a really big difference when you put them in there. So if you can get hold of one, fuel gauge, ammeter, put it in there. And next time you're driving a Jeep, you know, when you look down at your gauges, imagine you're looking at ones that have been through God knows what, you know. These are the original things from World War II. They're not something just made in China yesterday, okay? So gauges really stand out and make a big difference. But let's just have a quick look at them for a second. Okay, peeps, while we're on the subject of gauges, quick PSA here, okay? Now, it may be tempting to go diving into one of the speedo gauges to sort it out if you've got issues with it, okay? But I'm going to advise that you just don't even go anywhere near it, okay? Don't bother. Now, some of you will know why and some of you won't, and this is part of the reason you shouldn't go messing around here. All these gauges are fine, okay? These ones are all good. You don't need to worry about those. You can take those apart and rebuild them as you feel. However, the speedo gauge, if we get this out, I'm sure some of you will work out what's about to happen. Okay. You can hear a little clicky click. Yes, as we can tell, this is my little survey meter here. Obviously, it's a little Geiger counter there and you can just hear it clicking away. That's radium. On this needle here and on some of the lettering there, or should I say numbering there, that's radium, okay? And over time, that radium paint on there has degraded and crumbled down. When it's behind the glass like that, it's safe. You know, you don't need to worry about it. You can have your kids in here and what have you. It's not going to come out and attack you and kill you. It's not Chernobyl or something like that. But if you start breaking open the glass and getting inside there, that decayed paint will have fallen off into dust inside there. And when you put it out on your workbench, the dust will fall down. And as you sweep your workbench up later, that radium dust will be blown up into the air and you'll breathe it in. And then you'll have little flecks of radium inside your lungs, which I'm going to admit is really something you don't want to have, okay? As I said, it's stored in there, safe. You don't need to worry about it. It's fine. Just don't annoy it and you'll be fine. But don't go digging in it trying to rebuild it, okay? Because there's no way you can avoid that radium dust getting out there and getting inside you, okay? So best left alone there. But otherwise, original gauges, other than being deadly if you break into them, or not really, you know what I mean, much better to have than modern reproduction. So gauges, number 2. Right, peeps, this has taken a slightly different turn. Tom and Emily are just out walking their dog and I've decided to assault them and ask them just quickly then. They don't know anything about the Jeep or anything like that, so I'm just asking them, what do they notice if they just have a quick look at it? What sort of stands out to them? And if they could just let me know quick, if that's all right.
Yeah, I think the first thing, as we're just walking down the lane, is,
yeah.
Wow, look at that, Emily, that's really nice.
Okay, yeah.
Something about it is really attractive.
So there's just an overall, do you know anything about Jeeps?
A little about Jeeps,
yeah.
I know a bit more about Land Rovers.
Yeah, okay.
How reliable they are.
How they should look, you know, what about the paint? What should it look like, do you reckon?
I mean, the freshness of the vehicle really stands out.
Okay.
It looks kind of, yeah, fresh, like it's just come out of the factory.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think the detail is really striking.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a really beautiful finish.
Okay, so finish, yeah, that's what we've been talking about. So that's interesting. And if we just look at the dash here, quick, what sort of stands out about the dash then? Sort of originality or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just looks as though it's straight out of the factory, isn't it? The decals, yeah, okay, really fresh, really readable. The dials, so clear.
So
I think again the originality, because my dad has remade a few Series 1 Land Rovers.
Yeah, okay.
And collecting parts.
Yeah, yeah.
I know from his experience has been really challenging. So to create the originality, I mean, I don't know how you came about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that kind of thing. So it just it looks just
okay.
super
sweet. So
stunning and clean and
gauges and data plates, you reckon?
Yeah,
that's cool.
So,
all right, that's good. That's good. Okay, so then the second thing that people always look at then is data plates. So they're going to be really important then. So making them look just right is really going to improve the overall look and feel of your Jeep. Now, what I'm going to say is, if you've got original data plates, no matter how bad they are, always refit them, okay? I mean, even if your Jeep is a factory rebuild, I would say always refit them. I did that on the GPW. I actually restored one of them, restored two of them actually, and left the other ones completely untouched, just straightened them out, and they went back on there. And they look really, really good. And I was always really thankful that I hadn't just, you know, put on some reproductions there. I'd use the original ones. So always try and reuse your originals, because they are really important, and they, even on a factory rebuild, make a Jeep look a lot better. Now, to help you out here, I'm going to give you a supplier for really, really good data plates, okay? It's Robert at Data Plates for You. I'll just flash that up there. Data Plates for You make, you know, perfect reproduction data plates, okay? He can stamp them as well, exactly as they should be. The fonts are all correct, the way they're stamped is correct, and also the little symbols, stamps and things like that, he's got it all sorted. So if you want good data plates, go to Data Plates for You, and that'll really set your Jeep off. You can see the ones I've got fitted here look absolutely fantastic, and if we look inside, you can see on the back of them, the Willys data plates, they're screwed on, and they have little nuts on the back of them, special nuts which hold it together. The fours are riveted on with different style rivets, but throughout the production run of the Jeep, you get all sorts of different types of data plates. You get zinc ones, brass ones, all sorts. So Robert knows exactly what you need. If you tell him the serial number of your Jeep, he'll get the correct ones put on for you. You don't need to do any research or anything like that. He'll send them to you, and that's it. So number 3 then is data plates. Make sure your data plates are up to snuff, and then your Jeep will look really, really authentic. Number 4 then, peeps. Now, I'm going to change what my number 4 was based upon what Tom and Emily said, because they actually brought up quite a good point here, which is obviously something that people don't know anything about these vehicles obviously notice, is, like they said, freshness of it, okay? Now, this is great for us with a Jeep, because a Jeep you can keep looking fresh because of the way it's painted. So we've got our matte olive drab on here. So if you need to touch anything up or anything like that, just like I have down here, when I put these hip pads on, I sprayed over these screws which go in there. You can't notice that you've touched it up at all. So if it gets damaged or dinged or scraped or something like that, you can just blast over it with the OD again, and it covers up anything. So a Jeep is very straightforward to keep looking fresh as well. Now, you know me, I like it looking dirty. I have cleaned it up a little bit recently. I've been over it with a pressure washer after winter to get any salt or anything like out of it. But I do like the muddy, dirty look on it. So I don't want to keep it looking too clean. But I think when it comes to cleaning these, one of the great ways of cleaning them, which I've said in another one of my videos, a much earlier video, is this olive drab is great to be cleaned with paraffin, okay? So kerosene or paraffin. It's not very volatile, it won't blow up and set fire to your Jeep. Obviously you have to let it dry out before you start it and things like that. You've got to be very careful with it. But it removes all the oils and crud. You can see there's some WD-40 sprayed around there. If we went over that with paraffin, it would just remove it and it would take it back to that beautiful flat drab. So no matter what you do to your Jeep, no matter what you spill on it or cover it in, paraffin and kerosene will just take it straight off, and she'll be back to looking new and fresh and minty again. So apparently number 4 to make your Jeep and improve it easily and cheaply is keep the thing looking fresh. Who knew? Number 5 then, peeps, on the easy, simple and cheap things you can do to increase the authenticity of your World War II Jeep is give the poor old girl a tune-up. Now, we know this thing is a dependable little beast. I think that's what we've shown on this channel. So to make it authentic, make sure she's in the tip-top condition that she deserves, okay? We're coming into parade season now, so now's the time to get in there, get the tech manuals out and have a look through them and make sure your Jeep is dependable, because no matter how good it looks, it doesn't matter. If you're the guy whose Jeep won't start or doesn't make it to the show or the parade, there's no point in having it, is there, really, you know? So what we're talking about is checking your points and condenser, replacing those. They're cheap and very simple to do. That's just an afternoon. Plug leads, check them all as well. You know, you can swap them out for the reproduction, the more original looking reproductions if you want to. Check your fuel, check your carburetor. Joe's Motor Pool, of course, make the lovely WO carburetor for this. If you don't want to send your original off for rebuild, you can easily buy one of those and get that fitted, and that will give you good performance again. So there's all sorts of stuff you can do here to make your Jeep more reliable and more dependable. And that's what it had to be in World War II, remember. It had to be dependable, okay? So give it the give it the work that it deserves. Go over her, make sure she's all up to snuff, and you won't be left at home while everybody else is out enjoying themselves on the parade. So increase its authenticity by making it more reliable. So that is our number 5. Well, peeps, I think that just about wraps us up then. Anything you can think of that I've missed there to increase the authenticity of your Jeep easily and simply, let me know down in the comments. And of course, as always, like and subscribe as well. Thanks to Patreons for helping me out, give me some ideas on this. I appreciate that. But until next time, enjoy Jeeping and have a good week. Cheers.